Alright guys, welcome back to another episode on the Peak Fiction channel. Today we're going to be breaking down chapter 4 of Boruto TBV. Now this chapter, in my personal opinion, had to be one of the best chapters of Boruto TBV. We got to see multiple things, but first things first, the last chapter pretty much ended off with Boruto and Kawaki talking to each other. In that particular scene, they didn't necessarily see eye to eye, but Boruto didn't really care about Kawaki because he was pretty much focused on the 10 Tails that was in Code's dimension. And at the beginning of chapter 4, we do see Code's dimension, and Code is actually looking at the 10 Tails. But at this particular point, Code is essentially thinking back to the warning that Boruto said and disregarding it, which pretty much lays out the foundation for the rest of this chapter. And the next thing we know, Boruto pops out the literal Flying Raijin and goes directly to Code's hideout. This right here was a huge surprise to almost everybody that was actually watching the chapter. One of the things that we do understand is that a lot of people did want to see Boruto actually get Flying Raijin. Flying Raijin is one of those jutsus that's going to be effective no matter who it's against, and a lot of people did want Boruto to actually get it. Now we finally got it. However, right before that, we did kind of notice that Kawaki noticed Boruto talking to someone. So this right here may actually pop up in a few chapters. After Boruto pops up in Code's dimension, he then looks for the 10 Tails. Remember, this right here was the main target for Boruto. Boruto goes to that dimension and the 10 Tails is nowhere to be found. At this particular point, all we see are the spikes that were supposed to be holding the 10 Tails in place. Code is dumbfounded, Boruto is dumbfounded, the Toad is dumbfounded, no one really knows what's going on, and out of nowhere, Bug pops out. And this isn't regular Bug, this is Bug with 2 Renegons, a mink coat, and plus he has the stance like he's standing on business. I say this as an avid Henny Bug supporter. This man has never stood on business like this before in my life. At this particular point, Code is kind of reassuring the audience that he has absolutely no idea what's going on. Code essentially calls that figure Bug, and Boruto tries to reassure Code like, nah, this isn't Bug, this is a divine tree. Code at this particular point is still completely perplexed, but before he even finishes his thought, Bug blitzes Boruto. Something that's noteworthy is the fact that Bug is now able to actually not only make contact with Boruto. Remember, Code in the past really wasn't able to touch Boruto, possibly because of the Flying Raijin, but on top of that, Bug was also able to drive Boruto back into a wall. Now at this particular point, Boruto's probably trying to figure out exactly what's going on. He's probably trying to analyze certain situations, but it's still a feat in itself that Bug is able to do this, when the last time that we did see Bug, he was completely fodder, arguably worse than Konohamaru. We then get some words from the divine tree. He basically says, have you come to offer yourself to be devoured, Otsuki Boruto? Boruto, of course, let's be honest, he ain't going for that. He then uses a lightning style and actually shocks Bug. This right here seems to be like a brand new jutsu from Boruto. Of course, you understand that Boruto had lightning style, but of course, anytime that we do see any more abilities from Boruto, it's going to be a good thing. And not only that, we could possibly assume who actually taught him that jutsu. Lightning style could possibly be Sasuke, you never know. But after Bug is hit with that lightning style, Bug tries to use a jutsu of his own. Boruto then quickly evades it by using the Flying Raijin technique, similar to what he did do with Code back when he was actually fighting against Code. But he uses the Flying Raijin technique, goes directly beside Code. At this particular point, Boruto does a very controversial thing. He resends the Uzihiko that's on Code. So at this particular point, Code is free from Boruto's Rasengan Uzihiko, which was supposed to be like an infinite technique that was supposed to infinitely affect Code. Now it's not. Boruto tells Code what he's done and then tells him to prepare for an attack, but then dives deeper into specifically what's going on. He pretty much tells Code that it's not just Bug that's going to potentially turn into this thing, it's also everybody that was turned into a tree. Out of nowhere, we see another divine tree just floating in the air. To me, I don't know, this kind of looks like the leader, but he goes to explain a bit more about the 10 Tails and also the divine tree. He pretty much says that all life on the planet, both current as well as past and long dead, we divine trees exist to suck the chakra out of all living things and form a chakra fruit. He then goes on to state that that was his original purpose, and then thanks Code because Code himself allowed the divine trees to actually awaken self-awareness in them. Another divine tree pops out and just throws so much shade towards Code, which is completely warranted. She tells Code that he has an inescapable fate to be a clown who ends up being used by someone else. So this right here could possibly be like one of the first signs that Code and the new enemies are legitimately not really on the same page. Now at that particular point, the Toad that Boruto had was telling Boruto to retreat and pleading Boruto to leave so they can actually regain at least some footing, but Boruto was completely startled by the new divine tree that actually popped out.
Now we then cut to the Hokage office where Shikamaru, Kawaki, and Sarada are all arguing about Boruto, where Kawaki and Sarada are the highlights here. Now what I like about this scene is the difference in Sarada's approach to convincing Shikamaru in this chapter compared to in chapter 1. In chapter 1, Sarada's approach was more or less like, Boruto's not actually a bad guy. you need to hear him out. He didn't actually kill Naruto and Hinata. He didn't do all these bad things you say he did. That's never going to work on Omnipotence, because Omnipotence forces everyone to believe their changed memories. So, no matter what Sarada says, they're still gonna think Boruto did what he did. However, in chapter 4 here, Sarada's approach is more like, Koda attacked Konoha and Boruto drove him away. Regardless of Boruto's true motives, there's no doubt that he and Koda have a hostile relationship. So since Koda's a threat to Konoha, we should consider collaborating with Boruto to take Koda down. Now something I found interesting is how Sarada says, regardless of Boruto's true motives. This implies the possibility that Boruto's true motives might actually be malicious in intent rather than pure goodness. However, Sarada does not actually think Boruto's true motives are bad whatsoever. This feels like an act for Shikamaru, who actually would be considering the possibility that Boruto's true motives are malicious in intent and bad for Konoha. So this is actually a really good and smart acting job on Sarada's part, because the more she acts like Shikamaru in thought process, the more likely Shikamaru is to actually take her words into consideration. And we're seeing that in this chapter, like Shikamaru probably will take Sarada's words into account, because this whole situation is incredibly similar to the one with Sasuke in the war, when Sasuke showed up out of nowhere, and people like Shikamaru were very wary of Sasuke's true intentions. However, they saw that Sasuke was working to take down their common enemy, that being Madara and Obito, and so they said, okay, we'll team up with Sasuke at least until we take down this common enemy. It's pretty much the exact same thing here. We then come back to the Ten Tails dimension though, where Boruto seems very aggravated in that new Clawgram attacks Boruto, and it's blatantly obvious that this guy looks just like Sasuke. He even uses a Chidori like Sasuke, and since Boruto is a man of culture, he knows to counter it with a Rasengan. However, Boruto quickly gets overwhelmed as the other Clawgrams start to team up on him. First, the bug guy catches his sword with his big crab claw hand thing, and then the girl traps Boruto in an Earth-style jutsu. Now, if you remember the scene of when Amato first defected to Konoha, you'll recognize that this Earth-style jutsu looks identical to the one Moegi used to trap Amato. It's called the Earth-style Gravel Jutsu. Not only that, this girl's claw mark hairstyle looks a lot like Moegi's hairstyle, more so than anyone else really. So given that this girl has a Moegi-like hairstyle, just like the Sasuke tree has a Sasuke-like hairstyle, and this Clawgrime girl uses the same jutsu as Moegi, just like the Sasuke tree uses Chidori like Sasuke, I'm personally inclined to believe that this girl is the result of Moegi being bitten by a Clawgrime, the same as was the case for Bug and Sasuke. Now when it comes to the flying guy, he honestly resembles a Shiki or a Jigen more so than anyone else. And when you look at the claw mark on his head, it actually looks like a miniature form of a Shiki's horn. It has that same curvy point at the top, it just doesn't wrap all the way around his head like a Shiki's. It's more like Kawaki's, where it only wraps part way around his head. But I'm definitely seeing the resemblance to a Shiki's horn. What's also interesting is that if you look at the stomach of this guy, he's got the same Nagatama Tomoe markings that are on top of the Ten Tails' cage, and on the back of his jacket, he's got a Rinnegan ripple-like symbol, just like the top of the Ten Tails Dimension's cage. So we see physical resemblance to Jigen or Ishiki, while seeing markings relating to the Ten Tails, implying connections to both Ishiki and the Ten Tails, which I find interesting. Not only that, the Ten Tails' main body mysteriously disappeared at the beginning of this chapter. The body had to have gone somewhere, and since this guy has markings relating to the Ten Tails on him, I'm getting the feeling that he might be what the main body of the Ten Tails became, although we don't know for sure. Getting back to the chapter though, Boruto asks Ko to help him out when he gets trapped, and Ko is just like, nah bro, I'm gonna leave, they're gonna beat you up on their own so I don't have to do anything, which I found funny. And then Boruto has to escape using Flying Raijin. Now the flying Ishiki looking guy has some interesting dialogue when he says, "You were lucky, Atsuki Boruto, our self-awareness having just awakened, overflowing curiosity and thirst for knowledge are still surpassing our instinctual drive to devour you. So run where you will, but no matter where you go, know that you can never escape your destiny." Which is pretty reminiscent of what Ishiki told Kashin Koji back in chapter 47, about how all genes have a predestined fate. It seems to be a similar philosophy about destiny here, either because the Ten Tails has that same philosophy about destiny, or that's the inner Ashiki talking there, giving us Ashiki's philosophy once again. Now back at Boruto's home base, we finally get the return of Kashin Koji as he starts to scold Boruto a little bit, telling him not to be that rash ever again, and he says, "I'm not trying to console you, but you knew there was a high chance of this happening, and it doesn't really change anything. We still must fight." And I really like this line of dialogue from Kashin Koji because it reminds us of what it means to be a ninja, something that is very important to Kashin Koji's character. When he says, "and it doesn't really change anything, we still must fight," that's kind of a paraphrased way of saying we must keep enduring no matter what, which is exactly what we're told a ninja does in chapter 699 of Naruto. So I think this is really good from Kashin Koji's character, especially since we have Sasuke in the background inside the tree, when Sasuke is the one who comes to understand this at the end of Naruto, and these are Boruto's two main masters, Sasuke and Kashin Koji, the two people who teach Boruto what it means to be a ninja, which is going to be a lot more heavy hitting when Boruto tells Kawaki, "I'm still a ninja" in the future when we finally get to that flash forward scene. So on one hand we have the flying Ashiki looking guy reminding us of the theme of destiny, and then we have Kashin Koji reminding us of the theme of what it means to be a ninja. I think this was a great ending of the chapter. It would be really nice to see Mixi again, find out if he's still on the balcony thinking about who his son is, or if he's done anything meaningful in the last few chapters. And I'd really like to see Amato as well, because he's just too damn interesting not to see. However, I want to know what you guys think. What did you guys think about this chapter? Who do you think the identities of each of the Divine Tree people are? Do you agree with me that I think it's Bug, Sasuke, Moegi, and Ashiki/Jigen? Or do you think they're different people? And how did you feel about the callbacks to the themes of Naruto at the end of this chapter? I think the ending of the chapter is by far the best part. It's really nice. I want to see more of this from Boruto moving forward. But let me know what you guys think below. But that's a wrap on today's video, so thank you guys for watching until the end. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, like the video, check out all of our individual channels, and hit the bell icon for notifications. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.